Hello and welcome to a live Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri, and today's Monday, February 3rd. I hope you had a happy weekend, happy Groundhog's Day, all the things that happened this week. This weekend, we had a Texas Deprogrammed meetup, and it was so much fun. I just want to thank off the bat Nitty McPurley, Devin. We piggybacked. There was a knitting retreat that was a very popular retreat that was happening in Texas, and she was so kind as to allow us to do a meetup during a break in their schedule, the knitting schedule. And so we did a deprogram meetup. And I want to thank Aunt Pinkova from Politically Incorrect Knitters because she was the person who was like, hey, we should do this. Well, there's going to be people from out of town who maybe don't come to Texas that often, and helped me organize it. And I want to thank the Edward Senior and Junior at the Sweet Paris Creperie near Grapevine. I didn't tell this restaurant we were coming. I was like, there'll be a few people. We'll see. It was amazing. I got there late. I apologize. Of course, I had to pull over a nap. I was falling asleep on the way there. It's a long drive, but I got there not too late, not too bad, I have to say. But people were already seated. It was like the whole creperie. And the owner was impressed. He was like, "Oh, are you the podcaster?" I'm like, "Yes, what's happening?" He's like, this, all of these people are here for this meetup. Thank you, for the business. I guess I should have given them a heads up, but they were pleased with it. And he was very helpful. And the food was great. The people were great. We had so much fun. There were, as I mentioned, lots of knitters, lots of crocheters, also some deprogrammed community members, people here in the chat and on Instagram and Facebook who don't knit, who came from other places in Texas and Oklahoma. And so it was just a lot of fun. And I was dog sitting, so I had some dogs with me. Pirate Tomsky, the mod over in the UK. Keri was late. I don't believe it. Hey, listen, I was so happy too, Pirate. I messaged Anne. I said, I'm going to be right on time. This is great. I left so early. And then I was falling asleep on the road. And when that happens, I have to nap because I would rather just be late than possibly wreck while I'm falling asleep. So I got to meet all these people. Some people I've met before, other people I got to meet for the first time. And I just wanted to say thank you to the knitters. You guys are just so gracious always. I am blessed. I am spoiled with handmade knit items. And I got to meet Shelly Williams, who knit the blue sweater, the blue top for me that's in Blocked Magazine's calendar. If you don't have the calendar yet, you can pick it up. This is the calendar here, and it's the Ladies of Blocked Magazine calendar. And this is an excellent, I've mentioned it before, this is an excellent knitting and crochet magazine. It's a free magazine, and it's full of patterns, and it's also full of commentary pieces. And it's a really funny name for this magazine, Blocked, because it's a pun, of course, double entendre, because it's not just about blocking in knitting, but it's also about the culture wars. And there's lots of great based commentary in this magazine. The magazine's free, but to support the mag, they put out this calendar, and you can go buy one of these if you want to. Look, there's the one with the blue sweater. That was by accident. I just opened it on that one. That's the one I'm talking about. But if you want to go and buy this calendar, you can help support a free knitting and crochet magazine. Okay. Anyway, I got to meet Shelly Williams, who made that blue sweater. And then Aunt Pinkova. Look at these. Look at this knit work, guys. She made these fingerless gloves and this hat and this cowl. I love it. It's so nice. Liz, I don't know if I should say last names. Let's see. What does she go by on? Does she have her full name? Liz Knits and Naps. Liz Knits and Naps made me this. Look at this beautiful blanket. It's gold and purple. It's a cute little lap blanket. I'm just showing off the talent of all the people there and just the beautiful generosity. I love you guys. I got to see Yarn and Chicken and Shit, who brought me some books on orthodoxy, which I'm looking forward to reading. I'm actually, we talked about maybe doing an episode about, there's a lot of young men moving into orthodoxy who are not just finding Christ, becoming saved, finding Jesus, but specifically moving into orthodoxy. And so that's kind of an interesting topic. So I'm looking forward to reading those. Maybe we'll do an interview with some people about that. Okay. Hey guys. Hey everyone. Hey Davina. Just wanted to say just thank you to those people. It was lovely to meet everyone. Oh, here, let me show you a picture. Look at this. It's kind of it's I can't make it any larger than that. But look at all these people. This is after we moved outside the creperie into the patio area. We took it over. And it was so much fun just sitting out there eating crepes, drinking coffee, talking to people, sharing experiences during the crazy years, talking about politics and culture. Lots of ladies were knitting. They had purse knitting. they were it was just so much fun. So we talked about we definitely want to do another Texas meetup. I know I've been saying for a while we should do one, but since there were so many people that were there and that came out and going around the patio and asking people where they were from, there were a lot of people from out of state, but there were a lot of people from Texas and also from states that aren't too far away. A lot of people from Arkansas and um, so we're like, maybe we'll do a Southern meetup. Maybe in the second half of this year, that would be might be enough time for people to plan for it, and we could just have part 2, maybe do some Texas events as well. We'll figure it out. But anyway, it was really great. Very renewing to be in that with all these people. Hey, Randy Wallen for $10. Randy the hype man. Give it up for Randy. Randy says, do you like Keri and her work? Send her a few dollars. Participate in chat. Like and comment and subscribe. Invite a friend. Post on her other sites and you'll help grow important work. Go Keri, our happy warrior. Randy, thank you so much. You do such a better job of this than I do. If you like the channel, yes, feel free to contribute. And if you can't contribute financially or don't want to, you can also contribute by leaving a comment. It helps the algorithm. And if you know people, even now, even in, now that Trump's in office and Project 2025, I'm kidding about the Project 2025. But even though Trump's in office and it seems like we won a very important battle. It seems like the culture is moving in the direction we wanted to, in a positive direction. There's still a lot of people lost in that woke world, and those are the people I think that is one purpose that I can be used for, is to talk to people who are in my old belief system. And so if you know people like that who are still in it or who are questioning, and you ever think that there's a video that you might be able to send them without them getting very angry at you, then feel free to send it to them. And if you have suggestions for clips, let us know in the comments what you would clip, because I know I need to do more clips and that might be helpful. So it's still a crazy kind of world out there. I got to hang out with Ann Pinkava from Politically Incorrect Knitters yesterday as well. And she stayed with me and my husband, which was nice. And we were just having conversations about what we all lived through. Guys, through the COVID years, like, we lived through crazy stuff. Everybody was sort of sharing stories about just how insane those years were, and if we're going to be able to adequately explain them to younger generations, like what that was like. And it's not entirely gone. You still see people affected by it. You still see people driving around in cars with masks on, people who are like permanently mentally affected by it, people who seem to get excited about the prospect of all that stuff happening again. Some people, they loved it. They loved it and they want to return to that madness. And so, we've come through a lot and it's not entirely recognized. It's almost like a lot of people want to pretend like all that craziness didn't happen. But we all have stories. I know you do. If you're in this chat, we all have stories about just the insanity of it. I was sharing one of the stories with Anne and her parents, and this was one of the. I mean, there were so many, but see if this sounds familiar to you guys. My husband and I were at the doctor's office. It was a new doctor. This was right in the middle of the COVID years, and there was nobody in the waiting room. Maybe one other couple, like two, but it was a huge waiting room. So it was basically empty with like two people way on the other side. We go up to the desk and they told us we had to put masks on, which of course I didn't have one. So they gave us the stupid paper mask, which don't do anything. And I put it on, we're filling out the new patient paperwork. And then they say we have to get your photo for your file, your patient file. And they were like, you need to take the mask off for the picture. Now, first of all, let me also say there were a couple of them in this doctor's office behind the glass who were not wearing masks anyway, while they forced us to wear them. Okay, so they're not wearing them. Okay. But they told us we had to take it off for the picture. And I just asked them because I like to troll a bit during that time. I tried to have fun where I could have it and make fun of the absurdity. So I asked them, I was like, but if I take the mask down for the picture, is it safe? Is it safe? Will I get COVID while I take this mask off for a second? And they were not impressed. They were just like, take it down. I'm like, okay, I'm taking it down, like for the picture. Here's my picture. Now put it back on, right? And just insanity at a doctor's office. You're a doctor. This is supposed to be about medicine and science, right? Then we go take the paperwork to finish filling it out, way away from the desk on the other side of this big empty waiting room. We're filling it out. We take our masks off while we're sitting there alone filling out this paperwork. And on the paperwork, there's a list of genders. Which of these 8 genders are you? And I just inside, I know I'm laughing, but the just absurdity and the anger. I'm coming to you. You're supposed to be a doctor. You're based in reality, not some crazy new religion, not make believe in fantasy. I'm not looking for a witch doctor, right? I'm looking for someone who uh, is a scientist. Is a medical doctor, and you're sitting here like, which of these made up genders are you? I was so furious about that question. So as I'm looking at this and I'm checking, none, you can write in what you are, normal. Like, you figure it out. Um, as that's happening, one of these people from behind the desk approaches us, comes all the way across this empty room to come lean over and tell us we have to put our mask back on. And I just lost it. I just was like, "No." And I got up and I was like, actually, I can't remember exactly how it happened. It seemed that either my husband put his back on or didn't want to put it back on. I can't remember what happened, but I was like, "I'm leaving. We're leaving." So I got up and we went, as we were leaving the desk with the paperwork, I just threw the paperwork back on the desk, put it on the desk. Like, I'm not doing this. I was like, we're looking for a doctor. We're looking for a doctor, not a witch doctor. You got 8 genders on your intake paperwork, putting on this mask, which doesn't do anything. Like, I'm looking for someone I can trust with my health. And we're sitting here at are you going to read chicken bones once we get into the examination room? Are you going to do some feng shui to figure out what's going on with me? Like, I need a doctor. So that was one of the craziest anecdotes. I mean, there were a lot, and I'm sure you guys all have stories too about that time period and just how insane it was, everything that we lived through. And those little nudges like that, those little nudges of what is basically woke Marxism, woke communism. It's putting the boot on your neck. Like, you will participate in this upside down fantasy. We will force you to participate in this upside down fantasy. That was just the most dehumanizing. I couldn't be a part of that. I couldn't have you put your boot on my neck. I couldn't. And we all lived through that crap. So it's really nice when we have these meetups and get-togethers and with people who are not a part of the most dominant cult in the West right now. People of all different stripes, conservatives, liberals, libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, like anarchists, whatever, all different stripes. Some are Christian, some are Buddhist, some are atheists, Jewish, all coming together at these meetups, but having this shared experience of not having been in this or having left this crazy cult. And it's really freeing. You can just hang out with people and be yourself, and you don't have to say the right thing or post the right virtue signal, and you don't have to make sure you're speaking the approved cult language or worry about saying something that triggers people because it's like a new no word, like spirit animal. Oh no, don't say spirit animal. Okay. Randy Wallen for $2. Thanks for the super chat. Randy says, I introduced you to my dentist, no mask. That's true. I did meet Randy's base dentist. He might become my new dentist. Pirate Tomsky. We used to small talk about the weather. Now it's, how did you make it through COVID? Yes. How'd you make it through the COVID crazy years? Texas Sheep Lady. No one looked at us like we were dangerous. No, we just had a great time. Texas Sheep Lady was there. By the way, another person to thank. I'm wearing these. I can't get my leg all the way up there. I'm wearing these very warm wool socks that you gave me, Texas Sheep Lady. I love them. Thank you. Although it's warm in Texas now. It's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, we're getting started. I just wanted to, that's the update on the meetup. If you had a good time and you want to come to another one, we're going to plan one for this year. And if you didn't get to come and you want to come, like, we're doing it. So we're going to have fun. Okay, the confirmations. So I didn't cover on this channel, I just talk about the stuff I'm interested in and that I think's important and catches my fancy. And some of the confirmation hearings, I don't know. I probably need to do my due diligence to go back and listen to them, but they weren't at the top of my interest level. Like Hegseth, I was kind of like, I don't really know much about him. I would have to go before I even watch the hearing. I'd need to go and research this guy and learn about him and what I think about him and all this. And I haven't done that. But there's 3 that just happened that really caught my attention that I am very interested in, 2 in particular, but we're going to touch on 3 today. And that's Tulsi Gabbard, who I voted for in the primaries in 2020. And Tulsi Gabbard, who is, former leftist, former liberal, I guess, or still a liberal, but now she's in the Republican Party. It's a lot of people like that. A lot of liberals who left, a lot of liberals who voted for Trump. And she is up right now. Trump nominated her for the director of national intelligence. And then also, I'm very excited about and interested in the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. confirmation hearings. RFK Jr., of course, also a liberal who came over and threw his support behind Trump. RFK Jr. has been nominated for Secretary of Health and Human Services. Very excited about this one. And then the third, who I don't know as much about, but I'm interested in this one because of the role, is Kash Patel, who's been nominated for director of the FBI. So these 3 are currently being grilled in the confirmation hearings. And I figured if you're like me and you only catch these things in bits and pieces and you want to watch some of it with friends, we're gonna watch some of it today. We're gonna take a look at some highlights today. So that's what we're doing. Randy Wallen's making his predictions out the gate. Here we go. Chances. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. He says chances. Kash Patel, 80% of getting confirmed. RFK Jr., 60% getting confirmed. Tulsi, 35%. 35? Really? That's it? Well, I saw some of the mainstream corporate media, and they were saying the same thing, Randy. They really don't like her. They really don't. If we have time, I'll play one of these clips from MSNBC where they're just crapping all over her. Gambit 1987. That makes me think of the X-Men. Gambit says, hi, Keri. Greetings from Sweden. I just subbed to your channel. Oh, are you the Swede that I met at the meetup Saturday, or are you a different Swede? Because I did meet a Swede who lives here in Texas now. Well, good to see you. Okay, let's start with this one. This is the Elizabeth Warren clip. We're going to show some of the highlights of the clips that are going around, and then we're going to go back and watch some of their longer, like their introductory remarks, each of these nominees.
Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit?
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going. You're right, because to say yes, because every American has.
Okay, so she asked him, will you commit to not taking money from any of these evil? She didn't say evil. I'm going to say evil. Big pharma, these corporations that you criticize all the time. And he's like, by the way, I love it. I love that he slows down everything by asking her to, who are you talking about? Me? Also, he's a little hard to understand with his speech impediment. So he's got to slow it down because they can get really impassioned. And so he's kind of bringing the tone down a little. And he's like, yes, well, of course. And then also kind of funny. Yeah. Who wants to give him money? He's not going to take it, first of all, and he's the enemy of these guys. So that was kind of an easy one.
It's the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
Yeah,
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right.
Well, he just said he would commit to that while he's secretary. And he's trying to then offer, he said, and you're making me sound like something I'm not. So he's trying to explain what he thinks about things, and she cuts him off. It's a simple question. Well, he answered your simple question, and now he's elaborating. Why won't you let him elaborate? It's hard enough for him to get the words out.
I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after. It's just.
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No, I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits? Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint
I
people
don't
to the
understand that.
CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm and they could use it.
So this is just this is what I hate about the confirmation hearings is when they just grandstand and they don't ask questions, they just make accusations or try and present things as facts. So what she's doing here is a laundry list of things that she thinks he could do. Okay, he could also stand on his head. Like, get to a question or something he has done or said he would do. He just told you he wouldn't take any referral fees for anybody who he refers to a law firm to sue vaccine manufacturers during his time as secretary. You wanted him to also commit to 4 years after, and I noticed he didn't do that. He said during those 4 years he would, though. So what's your next question? Like,
However it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
No, look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep.
I have to pause this here, this grandstanding. It would mean a lot more to me, Elizabeth Warren, to hear you saying that you're so upset about the possibility of kids potentially dying. It would mean a lot more to me if you brought this kind of energy against vax mandates during the COVID years and mask mandates during the COVID years, because you guys didn't seem to care at all about the negative health repercussions for children for whom masks did nothing except delay their developmental stages for learning how to speak, their vocabulary, the ages, the milestones at which children develop language. The CDC ended up having to put out an announcement saying all of these developmental milestones were going to be pushed because kids were learning to speak later now, and they were learning fewer words now. And I don't know, maybe that had something to do with everyone in their life wearing masks around them and them having to wear masks. And so they're not being able to look at lips. Maybe that had a negative impact on, we know it had a negative impact on children. And people were telling you at the time it was going to have a negative impact. Not to mention the kids that you guys encouraged their parents to bring them in and get this experimental shot. And yes, I will use that word because it's correct. And YouTube might pull this video down because they love to do that when you say that. But it was. Any shot, any treatment that has not been around long enough for a longitudinal study is by definition still experimental, because we don't know what the effects are because it hasn't been around long enough. There is no longitudinal study. There's not time for one. It requires time. And you were telling parents to go and give this to their kids? Why don't you bring this energy to asking questions about the vaccine injuries that have been caused as a result of this huge propaganda push. I don't see you bringing this energy and this concern for children to that. What about the myocarditis? What about the heart issues that people claim to be experiencing? We're not even allowed to ask questions. YouTube will yank your video down. The whole system is set against anyone questioning Big Pharma, questioning the previous administration, questioning Fauci. You guys did nothing. You did nothing. So it does kind of seem, I don't know, like false virtue to me or false anger, like you're not really that concerned. Or you're picking and choosing which battles you fight on behalf of kids, supposedly. So you're afraid that there could be kids who whose parents choose not to give them a particular medical treatment and those kids suffer, but you don't care about the kids whose parents chose to give them a particular medical treatment because you guys pushed propaganda and those kids suffered. You don't care about those? Not even enough to be asking for inquiries into it? It just seems hypocritical. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Does she have a legitimate point here? I'm looking to see what you guys think. She didn't care about masks because of Big Pharma cash, in my humble opinion, says Randy. Yeah, concern trolling on the national scale. That's what it seems like to me, but I'm not saying she doesn't have a valid question here. It's just the person asking it. It given her silence on these other things, it just seems like okay. Your motives. That's what I question, her motives, not the question itself, I guess.
Cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
Before we go to Senator Tillis,
Okay. So he keeps saying one thing that's very consistent in these hearings is, as he's always said, he's not anti-vaccine, he's pro-science. And they consistently continue to call him anti-vax. It's like the truth doesn't matter, the facts don't matter. And those of us in the chat who lived through the crazy COVID years, you know what I'm talking about. We all got called we were all called that. Now, some of you have told me in the chat, I know some, one of the knitters in particular I'm thinking of, she is actually legitimately, she's like, no, I am anti-vax. That's fine. Okay. But there's a lot of us who don't know. We don't know what we think about it. We knew what we thought about this particular new shot that they were pushing on us, and we said no to this one. And we were suddenly called anti-vax. That's what they're doing to him. That's what they're doing to him. He's just, everybody gets this broad label, right? Oh, hello. Brahma Bull's here. Brahma Bull from the bullpen. You guys give it up for Brahma. He says this is virtue signaling of the highest degree. That's what it seems like to me. Because again, where's your energy for the kids that you pushed mask mandates and vax the new COVID shot on? Where's your energy for those kids? What about the kids that we've been butchering in the US? Like, when has Elizabeth Warren ever spoken up against this mass mutilation and sterilization of children, turning them into lifelong medical patients? When has she spoken against that on behalf of children? I don't see her doing that. So her motives, that's what I question. Okay, now we've got this other clip. This is Bernie Sanders. Now, I voted for Bernie. If you're on the left, I mentioned these things, so you know. Like I said, I was one of you. I voted for Bernie. Let's see. In the primaries in 2016. I've always felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, I've had people tell me I'm wrong, but I always felt like he was sincere, and maybe he's not. Now I know many conservatives who are like, Keri, no, you're a Pollyanna about him for some reason. He's not. He's never been sincere. But I don't know. Even when I left woke, and I was thinking, well, he's still part of that evil ideology that I was in. He's got bad ideas, but I think his motives are good. I think he's just completely in the wrong direction, but he's good-hearted, and people have told me no. So I don't know. The jury's out on what I think about Bernie. John says Bernie's for sale. I don't know. Okay, let's watch him.
In the unusual and uncomfortable position of having to agree with Senator Cassidy's line of questioning. Mr. Kennedy, in an interview in July 2023, you stated, quote, "I do believe autism does come from vaccines." And you have, the end of quote, and you have praised a gentleman named Andrew Wakefield for his research. What studies, you talk about the need to be science-based, to get our information, good information to make decisions. What studies have you utilized to come to the conclusion that vaccines cause autism?
I'm happy to sit down with you.
No, please, just answer me that.
I mean, look at the Mawson study, Senator.
The what? Yeah.
Mawson, just look at that study.
Yeah, I will. And that was published.
But I don't want to, I wouldn't rest on a single study.
Right.
And all studies can be
Okay. Don't mean to be rude. I don't have a lot of time.
Just saying.
You would not be, I just heard you say you could not be happier if you were proved wrong. Mr. Chairman, I asked to put into the record 16 studies done by scientists and doctors all over the world saying that vaccines do not cause autism. Are you happy with that objection?
Look,
BS. Okay. I have an opinion on Bernie now. Okay. Look, my opinion is quickly evolving. I didn't watch this full clip. I watched the Warren one. Oh man, what a bunch of crap. Do you know what this is? This is the bandwagon fallacy. This is the appeal to authority fallacy. That's what he's doing. This is sophistry. This is not look, I've got all these experts who say this. Yes, you can cherry pick whatever you want. We're very familiar with you guys doing this. You did it during the COVID years too. This is when I get angry. You did this crap and we watched you do it in real time. Do you understand that that's why people like me now have questions about vaccines in general that I didn't have before? Because of what I watched you do in real time during the COVID years. You liars. You liars. You censored doctors and scientists, highly esteemed scientists. You censored them. You took them down. Jay I always mispronounce his name, but he's been nominated for a position as well. Bhattacharya. You censored doctors like him. You removed their posts, you removed their studies. In some cases, you shadow banned them. The Biden administration, the government, the federal government went to Twitter and Facebook and all these big social media companies and told them who and what to censor. This is how they tried to get around the First Amendment, which says they can't censor Americans. They went to the social media companies, Biden's Department of Justice, the FBI, all these three-letter agencies, the FBI. They were meeting with Twitter and Facebook and telling them what and who to censor. You guys censored that. Do you understand? That's the opposite of science. Science requires transparency. It requires transparency in order to be able to operate and to come to the conclusions that we can trust. It requires reproducible results. And if you guys just go in and say, we're going to censor all the scientists and all the studies that we don't like, that doesn't go with our political aim, that's not science. That's not truth. That's not pursuit of truth. And you can reach a faulty conclusion when you do that. And we saw what you guys did. So now the CDC is saying, oh yeah, looks like COVID most likely came from that Wuhan lab, that does gain of function research on coronaviruses, where the outbreak started. It looks like it came from there. Yeah, duh. Yeah, duh. We knew this 5 years ago, but you guys censored anyone who suggested it. Anyone who said, hey, maybe it came from there. We should find out. We should do hearings. We should find out. Maybe there was a leak. And you guys called us all crazy conspiracy theorists. You took our posts down. You censored doctors. You censored scientists. You censored anyone. And you know what you did? You did what Bernie Sanders did right here in this video. Right here in this video. You guys, you liars, you sociopaths, you put out this letter, and it's called the Lancet letter, in this scientific journal. Peter Dojak, I forget the other big names on it, but it was a laundry list of scientists who signed it. Many of them, like Peter, had conflicts of interest. Many of them directly worked with the Wuhan lab. And they put out this letter and they said, there's no way COVID, they put this out early, the Lancet letter. There's no way it came from that lab. There's no way. We're scientists and we're here to say. And what was it, like 30 something of it? And there were 30 something scientists, and we all agree there's no way it came from the lab. And if anybody asks if it came from the lab, they're a conspiracy theorist. And they lied in the letter and said, we don't have a conflict of interest, by the way. Liars. Vanity Fair ended up doing a huge piece on this. If you're a leftist and you don't believe me, go read the Vanity Fair piece. Because you know what happened? Obama banned taxpayer money from funding gain of function research on these dangerous coronaviruses. Obama said, hey, guess what? We're not going to pay to study how to make these diseases more contagious and more deadly. We're not doing it. And so then you know what happened? The NIH, our taxpayer dollars, started sending money to this New York company called EcoHealth Alliance, run by this guy, Peter Dojak, or however you say his name, this guy who pinned at the head of the Lancet letter. He ran EcoHealth Alliance. So the EcoHealth Alliance was getting this money from the NIH, and EcoHealth Alliance was sending it to the Wuhan lab, and they were doing the gain of function research. So our tax dollars were still paying for it. And now they say, oh, it most likely came from that lab. So do you understand what that means, leftists? We very likely paid money, potentially, possibly, allegedly, could have funded the creation of many different kinds of viruses, but in particular, this one virus that that we got put through hell for years. Do you imagine, do you understand why a lot of us are angry? We should have been united all together. You guys, us, everyone, we should have been united, going after having tribunals. We should have put these guys on trial. What happened? Where did this virus come from? Who paid for this? If it did come from a lab, we should have held their feet to the fire. The powerful, the elite who unleashed this on us, possibly, potentially, allegedly. And we didn't. Why? Because they're probably going to censor this video. They censored videos. They censored anybody who was asking questions. They censored scientists and doctors. And they put out lists like the Lancet letter, and they told you, hey, it's the question's already answered. Ask and answered. If you ask it, you're a bad person. They sold you guys, you left us a crazy conspiracy theory. They told you that it was more likely that COVID jumped several species in a wet market. Like somebody ordered a bat soup. I'm kind of exaggerating, kidding, but they did tell you it jumped several species and came from a wet market, not from the lab in that same town that studied these viruses. And you guys bought that crap and had the nerve to run around doing what they told you to do and call anybody who asked sane questions a conspiracy theorist. One of your beloved heroes, Jon Stewart, has talked about how crazy this is. Jon Stewart has talked about how crazy it is that they sold this whole phony conspiracy theory propaganda thing to us that it came from a wet market. I bring all this up because they did the same tactics back then. They did, look at him with his letter. They did this. They held up a list and said, look at all these. The science is settled. Liars. Liars. There's almost nothing there's a few things that make me angrier than this kind of manipulation and propaganda from powerful people. There's a few things that make me angrier, but this makes me very angry. Because then they have the gall to pretend like they care about science while they censor science. And people like Fauci, I mean, he just epitomizes this when he said, I am science. If you question me, you're questioning science. You guys fell for this crap. Wake up. It's high time you wake up. So this right here, you know, I never used to have a lot of questions about vaccines. If they told me to take it, I would take it. Until this one came along and they were like, "Hey, take this new thing. It's a new kind of technology, mRNA, and it hasn't been around long enough for any longitudinal studies, but trust it." And then they started, I was like, "Wait a minute. Why are they like telling it offering hot dogs and donuts if we take it? That's so weird." You know, it was more and more and more creepy and I became more skeptical, and finally I'm like, there's no way I'm taking this. This is insane. And now because of that, because I saw that and I saw what they did, now I question a lot more that I probably should have been questioning all along. So if RFK wants to come in here and say, look, I don't know why autism rates have skyrocketed, but they have skyrocketed among children. We should all be asking questions, just like we should have asked about where COVID came from. And they distracted us and they got us fighting instead with this stupid tribalism, left, right crap. So we never ask those questions. Well, if he wants to come in and say, we should be asking, why is there a huge increase in autism among children? Why is there an obesity epidemic among children? Let's ask these questions. And all they want to do is put on the brakes and say, no, you're not allowed to ask. You're not allowed to ask. Here's my letter of scientists. BS. Smells fishy to me, Bernie Sanders. Old School Millennial says, I'm the same as Keri. I never questioned vaccines growing up because my parents trusted it for the start of the school year. But since COVID, I don't trust any promoted vax ever. I'll go ivermectin or Z-Pack. Look, girl, I feel you. And now this video is going to be taken down. Trust it will. What do the young kids say? Bet. Bet it will be taken down. By the way, the late night part 2 video, they just put it back up. They do this with all my videos lately. They'll take it down for a few days. I have to appeal, and then I win the appeal but then I've lost 3 or 4 days, and they'll put it back up. However, every once in a while I won't win the appeal, and usually I'll let you know what that has to do with is this stuff, is COVID stuff. And then they say, sorry, you didn't win the appeal. The video doesn't get to go back up unless you edit out this part. They've done that. They don't like you talking about the Wuhan lab stuff, for sure. And they don't like you talking about medicine that's been around for decades and decades and decades and has won Nobel Peace Prizes for its use in humans. For some reason, not a lot. They don't like you talking about that. But Kiwi, no cap. That's what they say. They say, bet, no cap. It's the young people. Young people. Okay, let's continue. This part just kills me. His letter. Look, I've got a list here. So science is settled.
Doctors all over the world saying that vaccines do not cause autism. Are you happy with that objection?
Look at the IOM assessment of those 16 studies, Senator. The IOM has assessed them. But listen,
let me get to don't have a lot of time. I apologize. I'm happy to talk to you at another time. Don't have a lot of time. Let's talk about COVID. And I just want clarity on the issue. And again, I apologize. You have to be brief. We don't have a lot of time. Scientists have estimated that the COVID vaccine saved 3 million lives. President Trump said the COVID vaccine was, quote, one of the great miracles of the ages, end quote. You have said the COVID vaccine was the deadliest vaccine ever made, end of quote. Was the COVID vaccine the deadliest vaccine ever made?
Hey, let me answer you, Bernie. You know what? We don't know yet because you guys won't let us ask the question or do the studies. Imagine that. You guys don't care about it at all. At all. I have an interview here on this channel with a vaccine injured vet. You guys go and watch that video after this if you get a chance, if you haven't seen it yet, because he talks about all the red tape, everything he's had to go through. He is paralyzed. Okay. And they don't want to take any responsibility for forcing this vaccine on military members. Like, go and watch that video. And he's one of countless stories. And Bernie Sanders, do you care about this guy? It doesn't seem like it at all. So is it the deadliest vaccine ever made? I don't know. It might be. Can we ask the question? Will you guys start to give a damn about it? You tested it on people, essentially, because it had not been around long enough for longitudinal studies. So you just gave it to people willy-nilly. Okay, I guess we'll see what happens.
The reason I said that, Senator Sanders, is because there were more reports on the VAERS system, on the vaccine adverse event reporting system, which is the only surveillance system, that and VSafe. And there were more reports of injuries and deaths than all other vaccines combined.
But was it the scientists said it saved 3 million
According
lives?
to VAERS, I don't know, because we don't have a good surveillance system.
So
nobody
you
can
disagree
answer
with
that
the scientific community that?
Oh, go F yourself, Bernie. Okay. I don't have it. I'm losing respect is like dropping way off. So you disagree with science? Are we still doing this? Are we still doing the COVID crap? So you disagree with science? I disagree with what you're calling science. Yeah. And he answered your question. He's trying to answer it. He said there's been more reports on the VAERS system. And unfortunately, that's the only way that we have of measuring the number of vaccine injuries because you guys don't care about this. So there's been more reports on VAERS. Yeah, maybe we should get to the bottom of it, Bernie. And all Bernie has to say is this old COVID tactic. Oh, so you disagree with science? Disagree with Fauci? That's not an intellectual response. That's not a response that's rooted in a pursuit of truth or a respect for science.
I'm agnostic because we don't have the science to make that determination.
Okay. Prescription drug prices in America, as you know.
And by the way, I think President Trump did an extraordinary job on Warp Speed because he wasn't just focusing on that one intervention. He was focusing.
He called it a miracle, but you have cast doubts on its efficacy. All right. Prescription drugs. We're going to make America.
Again, you should be casting doubts on its efficacy, you dumb F. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to swear. You should be casting doubts on its efficacy. You know what? Because we don't know yet. And we don't know all the harm. And you guys aren't interested in calculating that. And we do know that that you guys lied about its efficacy because we have countless clips of Biden and Rachel Maddow, people in the government and people in the media and all these people in your leftist cult were telling us, we have clips of you, video of you saying that if you take this vaccine in quotes, right? That's what I'm putting it in quotes. If you take this, you won't get COVID. You guys said that, you liars, and it did not work. So, look, I guess the efficacy is not what you said it was going to be. It wasn't what you said it was going to be. So then you change the goalposts and you say, okay, well, looks like you might still get it. You might still get it. Doesn't prevent you from catching it. But then what'd you say? Oh, but your symptoms might be less. Okay. It might be less. The symptoms might not be as bad. But I remember when you said that its efficacy was going to be that nobody would that it would prevent transmission. Liars.
Healthy. I agree with you that we need a revolution in the nature of food in America. Physical exercise, etc. Very, very important. But there are people who are going to get sick. and they have to go to the doctor and find out why. 1 out of 4 Americans today cannot afford the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe because we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We made some progress under the Biden administration of negotiating prescription drug prices with pharma. First time that's ever happened. Now, yesterday you told me that the White House was going to issue something affirming their support for continuing those Medicare.
Okay, I have to just clear something up for anybody who's confused, and we can go right back to this. I'll back it up a little. Gambit says agnosticism doesn't respect God. That's not what he meant by agnostic. You're thinking of it when it's used to mean I don't have a belief one way or the other in God, but agnostic means it's not tied to that subject matter of God. Agnostic means I don't have a belief one way or the other. So when he said I'm agnostic on it, he meant I don't have an opinion one way or the other on if it was the deadliest vaccine ever, because I don't have all the evidence to look at yet. That's what he meant. He meant I'm agnostic on this question about the vaccine. I'm not picking on you. I'm just explaining it. So that wasn't a question about faith in God in that particular case. It meant apathetic towards, I don't have an opinion one way or the other on this question you're asking me. That's what that meant. Okay. Let me back up just a little bit because he's talking about the prescription drugs. Okay. Here we go. Prescription drug question.
Are the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We made some progress under the Biden administration of negotiating prescription drug prices with pharma. First time that's ever happened. Now, yesterday you told me that the White House was going to issue something affirming their support for continuing those Medicare negotiations. Turned out not to be quite accurate. They came up with some bland statement, could have been written by pharma. Very specific questions. Do you believe and will you insist that Medicare continue to negotiate prices with the pharmaceutical industry so we can substantially lower prescription drug costs in America?
President Trump has made it very clear to me that he wants to negotiate.
But negotiate is a big word, Bobby. It's a big word.
It's the word you just used, Senator.
Yeah, but no, I use defend a particular law. Will you defend the law in the Inflation Reduction Act?
He did say, didn't he say, we'll negotiate? Wait, yes, here it is. Do you believe and will you insist that Medicare continue to negotiate?
Continue to negotiate prices with the pharmaceutical industry so we can substantially lower prescription drug costs in America.
President Trump has made it very clear to me that he wants to negotiate.
But negotiate is a big word, Bobby.
It's the word you just used. Wait, what? It's like, well, you're asking him if he agrees that it should be the negotiation should continue. He's like, I think negotiation should. Don't use that word. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, confusing.
It's a big word.
It's the word you just used, Senator.
Yeah, but no, I use defend a particular law. Will you defend the law in the Inflation Reduction Act, which already is negotiating prescription drug prices?
President Trump wants us to negotiate drug pricing. He wants to
But you're
lower
not-
drug prices.
So you're not telling me that you will defend the law that we passed, which has already had significant success?
Well, the Congress,
okay.
look, I'm going to comply with the law, Senator. Congress passed the law. I'm swearing an oath to the Constitution. I'm going to comply
You're
with the
going to have a
laws.
significant influence on healthcare policy if you are.
And I'm going to comply with the laws.
Let me just say this in conclusion, Chairman Cassidy. President Trump and Mr. Kennedy are quite right when they say that our system is broken. They're right. Our economic system today is broken. 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Wages have been stagnant for American workers for 50 years. The economy is broken. You know what? Our political system is broken and corrupt. You have a handful of billionaires in both political parties who contribute huge amounts of money to elect candidates in this room throughout the United States Congress.
It's just just want to point out, just a second. Let me take it on screen for a second. Bernie's whole thing has always been going after the elite and the powerful and the billionaires and all this. And what's unsaid here, again, I hate to keep coming back to this, but the COVID years, man, the COVID years, and you're doing that thing. You're basically there grandstanding on behalf of billionaires and big pharmaceutical companies. This is a guy, RFK, who wants to take them on and who wants to make American kids healthier, to get us back to where we used to be in terms of lower obesity rates for children, lower autism rates for children. He wants us to at least ask the questions about some of these things. How many kids, the increasing rates of kids who are on pharmaceuticals like SSRIs and all this stuff. Like he at least wants to ask the question, like, what are we doing to this new generation? And is it healthy? Is it okay? Like, could we ask some questions about it maybe? And he doesn't care if he makes enemies of billionaires and big corporations while he does it, while he asks these questions. And you, Bernie, of all people, it's just weird. It's almost like your true motivations might be coming out, because why are you so opposed to this guy? You're sitting here in your grandstanding. You're talking about all the things he talks about, going after billionaires and stuff, but you're here kind of doing their work for them. How many people in this room take money from big pharma? But your enemy is somehow RFK? I just find it odd.
That is a broken political system and a real threat to democracy. Our healthcare system is broken.
Yeah.
And it's broken for some of the reasons that Mr. Kennedy indicated. We have not paid attention to the fact that we have massive amounts of chronic disease. We have not answered the question why in the richest country in the history of the world, our life expectancy is lower than it is in countries far poorer than we are. So I think in many ways, President Trump and Mr. Kennedy have asked some of the right questions. Problem is, their answers will only make a bad situation worse. So let me ask Mr. Kennedy again. If we want to make America healthy, will you assure the American people that you will fight to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to every single American?
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, no,
protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would, no. I ran for president like you.
Let's pause this for a second. What's he talking about? Because he's calling out Bernie, because as it turns out, and as people in the chat are talking about, Bernie takes a lot of money from pharmaceutical companies. That's right. The billionaires, the powerful elite who he criticizes all the time. This is a couple different articles I've got pulled up here. So here's one. It's talking about this exchange that we're watching. Kennedy and Sanders shouted at each other after Kennedy made the accusation and addressed the senator as Bernie. So records show, so they go on to clarify, because Bernie's about to yell, I had more contributions from workers all over the country, not a nickel from corporate PACs. He's talking about when he ran for president in 2020. Because Kennedy claimed that he received 1.5 million in pharmaceutical donations. So the records show that Sanders did receive 1.4 million from pharma-related donors in 2020, the most among sitting members of Congress. Here, let me share this tab. This is another article. This is Sky News. I'm trying to make this a little bit larger. Record shows Sanders received the most from pharma-related donors in 2020, 1.4 million, more than any other sitting member of Congress. So this part is particularly interesting, isn't it? And he gets, look at him. Yeah, somebody in the chat says that's why Bernie turned ruby red. Oh, he got really red. And look, he goes, no, 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 no. I thought this would come up. Yeah. You think that the donations you receive from Big Pharma might come up when you're grilling someone who wants to take on Big Pharma?
Oh, I thought that would, no. I ran for president like you. I got millions
know.
and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
Because I had
receiver of
small
pharmaceutical money.
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
You were the
not a nickel from corporate
Bernie,
PACs.
you were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in the industry.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but you have not answered, last question. You have not answered my question.
Mr.
How the
Chairman,
heck
we're
do-
Okay, just to clear this up, one more link. If you go to opensecrets.org, and this is where you can go and look up different politicians and you can see where their contributions come from, and you can divide it by recipients and divide it by category. And so from the pharmaceutical and health products industry, you can see here how much people have received, and this was for the year 2020. So in the year 2020, Joe Biden, now this doesn't discriminate, by the way. They'll buy anybody and anybody will take this money. Joe Biden received the most. He received over $9 million from Big Pharma in 2020. Donald Trump came in second with 2.9 million from Big Pharma in 2020. And there we've got Bernie Sanders, number one congressman, number one in donations from Big Pharma, 1.4 million, a little bit over 1.4 million. Coming in number 3 there, just behind Joe Biden and Donald Trump. There you go. Out of all the other congressmen, everyone in the Senate. I mean, what is he trying to argue that these are not from executives? These are from other people who are not in a CEO role in Big Pharma? Okay. I mean, I'll allow that point, but it's still from Big Pharma. I don't know. He's pretty mad. Let's go back. We're almost done with this Bernie clip, by the way. Kendra was like, do we have to watch more Bernie?
we make
ask you a
America,
question.
how do we make America healthy if you don't guarantee health
Chairman,
care
we're
to all
literally
people?
3 minutes over here now.
Well, so are we.
How long does it keep going? At some time, you're just battering the witness,
Not
Bernie.
battering the witnesses. I'm
Yes,
trying
you
to get
are.
an
And
answer.
you're getting upset at him. You're going at him just like any.
That's amazing. He's like, how long can you keep going? You're just battering the witness. He's all red-faced and yelling because he brought up the 1.4 million. Davina says Big Pharma. I thought you said Big Farmer. Big Farmer. Give it up for make farming great again. Okay. That was a real contentious one. I'm going to thank a couple people and then we're going to watch some more clips. Randy Wallen for $2. Thank you, Randy, for supporting Deprogrammed. Hype Man Randy says Kash is the most impressive and important of all. Okay, well, I've got some Kash stuff pulled up, so we'll watch some of that. I appreciate it. And Randy for $5 also says the hearings are all performative garbage, same as crying in cars. Read Walter Kim's thoughts on them. He was in the front row as a guest of RFK. Yeah, that's the little bit I've seen here and there, the different, I agree with you. It's like all these different senators just take it as their moment in the spotlight. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille kind of thing, where they're like, I'm on camera and now I'm going to grandstand about all the things that I say I'm about, but your purpose in that moment on camera is to ask the person who's been nominated what they think about things and to try and draw truth out of them and to draw answers out of them. It's not for you to try and create a narrative about them and just spew stuff about them and about yourself. And you're supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to care about what they say. Pirate Tomsky for £5. Hey, Pirate. Says Tyler Fisher did the funniest 3-minute skit of this hearing. I sent it to you on Twitter if you get the chance. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to try and pull it up. Let me pull that up. And then I see Brahma Bull had a comment. He said, when I was talking about, I used to think Bernie was very sincere. I guess I don't know if I think that anymore after this hearing. Brahma Bull says he sincerely believes in socialism for everybody else. That's true. And Randy also weighed in on that. Thank you for the super chat, Randy, for $5. He said, they are the leaders of the cult that you broke free from. You know their motives. Give them no quarter and judge accordingly. I think sometimes there could be someone in a leadership position who is just a sincere believer themselves, but I think it's probably very rare. And I don't think I would say that about Bernie anymore. I have to think about it more. I mean, this hearing, that just is so infuriating. The whole, the science, using that tactic. It's a sociopathic tactic. Why are you doing that? Yeah. Okay. Mark for $5. Thank you, Mark. Mark says RFK Jr. and others aren't anti-vax. They want the numbers. Schedule 13 vax and 30 total doses by 1 year old, 12 years old and older, 12 plus more by 7. And they want the composition research. It sounds responsible. Yes, it does. Thank you, Mark, for that point. They keep calling, they'll call them that. It doesn't matter what the facts are. They're going to call them that no matter what, just like they call us that. I got a couple of other things here. Alan Scott, I call it the spike protein injection because it's not a vaccine. I figured I'd go ahead and read that one since we're probably already banned. This video is probably already coming down. Rosa says, many of the people who cry about the increased distrust in experts and formerly respectable institutions fail to acknowledge that they're the ones who broke that trust by blatantly lying to us. Yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault. Okay. I'm going to bring up some of the Kash Patel. Now, this is a compilation that was put together by ANI News. I don't know if you guys follow them. I'm not that familiar with them, but they have a good compilation here. So let's watch this.
Mr. Patel, early in this hearing, Senator Durbin asked you about the January 6th choir of inmates whose song you promoted, and here's what you said. I did not have anything to do with the recording. I did not have anything to do with the recording. Do you stand by that testimony, Mr. Patel?
Senator, what I said was I didn't do the recording.
You said you didn't have anything to do with the recording, which is interesting because here's what you told Steve Bannon on his podcast. So what we thought would be cool is if we captured that audio and then, of course, had the greatest president, President Donald J. Trump, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, then we went to a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it out as a song now releasing exclusively on the War Room. We. If you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Patel, why did you tell Steve Bannon and all his listeners that you did?
That's why it says we, as you highlighted.
Yeah, and you're part of the we, right? When you say we, that includes you, doesn't it, Mr. Patel?
Not in every instance.
Well, that's new. So when you said we, you didn't really mean you. Is that your testimony?
Not unless you have a new definition for the word we.
Oh, okay. I always thought we included the person who pronounced the word, but maybe not. Well, you also said this, Mr. Patel. We were able to capture the recording thanks to their courageous singing, and we were able to take it to a studio. So let me ask you, Mr. Patel, after saying we took it to a studio, did you take it to a studio?
Me personally, no.
After you said that we digitized and recorded it and all that, did you take it to a studio and digitize and record it?
Me personally, no.
Okay, so you are lying to Steve Bannon and his audience. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was using the proverbial we appropriately, as you've
the
identified.
royal we. Oh, I see. And so you certainly promoted the hell out of it, though, didn't you?
I don't know what that means, but I promoted the heck out of raising money for families in need.
With promotions on social media and saying you were going to get this to #1 on the billboards, right, Mr. Patel?
I think it did.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Isn't that great? People who violently attack police have a #1 song thanks to you, Mr. Patel. That's something to be really proud of. Now,
No.
you've claimed, Mr. Patel, you didn't know about any of these people in the choir. Is that right?
I did not know about the violent offenders, and I did not participate in any of the violence
So-
in and
so tell
around
me-
January
Tell
6th.
me, Mr. Patel, what due diligence did you do to find out who was in the choir before you promoted their beautiful music? These people assaulted law enforcement. What due diligence did you do?
Senator, I didn't record it myself.
So you did no due diligence before you promoted this song by these violent felons. Is that what you're telling us?
Senator, I did not record that myself.
So you're being considered for director of the FBI. And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it.
How
I've
proud you are.
never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and
you
women,
didn't
as you
accept
know,
it. You
my entire
glorified it in
life.
song,
And I did
Mr.
not make
Patel.
a single dime out of
It in
it.
song. Well, let me.
How about
let
you
me
ask them
ask you
if I
this.
have
Let
their
me
backs,
ask you
and let's
this.
see about that
Let me ask you
answer.
this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr.
Yes
Schiff,
or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song with someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16
And
years
yet
of
you
government
did all these
service.
things, Mr. Patel. You can say, oh, I support law enforcement. I decry violence against law enforcement. You can say all that.
I've got to stop this for a second. This man is making me want to vomit. A couple of things to say about this. Number one, Brahma Bull. Thank you, Brahma, in the chat. Brahma says, meanwhile, Schiff got duped by Russian DJs claiming that they had a Trump pee-pee tape. What due diligence did Schiff do on any of the impeachment stuff? That's true. He just went along with that hoax, that political persecution based on lies, based on stuff that was made up to just try and bring down Trump as a candidate. The other thing is this. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was promoting a song that was made by some of the January 6th prisoners, and the song was being sold to raise money for their families and for their defense. Is that correct? Do I have it correct? Because it's hard to find the actual details about the song, because if you search for it, all you find are hit pieces on Kash Patel and how he supports violent insurrectionists. and I'm like, but actually, what is the song and who did it support? And can I get something that's not biased, please? Thank you. So tell me, do I have it correct, chat? Is it he promoted a song that was made by the January 6th prisoners and the proceeds of which did not go to him or to anybody else that was promoting it, but went to the January 6th, the families of those people and to their defense. Is that right? Because if that's what he did, then they're trying to make it out as if all of those people being held were violent offenders, when that's not the case. They can name 1, 2, 3. They can name a handful. I've seen them name a few, who did things like there was the one guy who pepper sprayed a police officer. You know, there are people who did actual things during the riot that should be condemned. But a large majority of those people were being held simply for going inside of the Capitol, which the Capitol guards in many cases led them in. We've seen the videos. It took a long time for the videos to come out, but we saw them leading that shaman around. They were opening doors. The Capitol Police were in some like leading them into the Capitol, which is weird, right? But a lot of those people were being held for 4 years. They were still in jail. And so if he was promoting a song that was trying to help the majority of those people, and there were some bad apples in there with it, am I going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? No. Do you know what Adam Schiff and Democrats did? If we go back to 2016, if we go back to Inauguration Day, we've seen the footage, all of the violence that took place, all the cars that were set on fire, the businesses that were destroyed, all these Antifa leftist cowards in the streets creating violence, starting riots. Out of all the arrests they made that day, when Trump was inaugurated in 2016 or January 2017 is when he was inaugurated, all the arrests they made that day, they dismissed all the charges. They didn't put those people in jail for 4 years. And those people actually started fires and defaced businesses and destroyed private property and injured people. And they dismissed all of their charges. And Democrats are A-okay with that. And you never see them talking about it. And you never see them. They didn't turn it into some ridiculous religious holiday that they've implanted in the minds of everyone now, where we all know the January 6th date. We all know it. But do you guys know inauguration date in 2017? Was it January 20th? I think it was January 20th. Let me look it up. Yeah, it was January 20th, 2017. Okay, I remember it, but I had to look it up to confirm because most people don't. Most people don't remember it. They didn't turn it into some big thing where it's like January 20th, insurrection. Although the footage from that day of all the leftist riots and the limos set on fire and the cars they were beating with tire irons and the businesses they were destroying and all the violence they were doing in the streets, it should have lived in infamy. And all those people had their charges dismissed, all of them. And these leftists don't care. So they collect a huge group of people who went into the Capitol. Now, among those, are there bad apples? Yes. Hell yes, I believe there are. I know Nick Fuentes, evil little clown. Evil little clown. Nick Fuentes was out there with a bullhorn. He's caught on video. This bad apple, this white nationalist, this evil gnome out there telling people to go into the Capitol. He was telling his supporters to go into the Capitol. Nothing happened to him. Weird, right? It's almost like he has some kind of connections. It's almost like he may not be what he says he is. But he was on a bullhorn telling people to go inside. Nothing happened to him. But a lot of those people who went inside, were some of those people bad people? Yeah, I'm sure there were. Were the vast majority of them committing violent offenses that day? No. And they were sitting in jail for 4 years, some of them. Torgo says Nick Fuentes is a Fed. You know what? I'm convinced that if he's not, he's at least some type of working with them in some way. Informant or whatever, because it's too crazy. All the stuff that he LARPs as a conservative, he LARPs as America first, but then and he's always out there to be the boogeyman they can point to, in the media. The leftist media loves to hold him up as an example of a right winger. But then what does he do? He spends all of his time on X mocking Christian marriage, mocking married men, mocking marriage itself. He himself is unmarried and has perverted sexual proclivities, but presents himself as some Catholic conservative trad. Yeah, right. And he's out and he's telling people to go in so they can get the footage they need of people going in the Capitol. Go in the Capitol, and nothing happens to him. Anyway, I'm digressing. But the point is, this guy Adam Schiff wants to grandstand about him helping to raise money for the families of people who were still in jail 4 years later for January 6th. What about all the people who had charges dropped January 20th, 2017? Don't care about those. What about when Kamala Harris and other Democrats were raising money for bail for BLM rioters and Antifa rioters? You guys raised money for their bail. People who were starting fires, destroying businesses, killing people. The vast majority of those people who were being held were not the cherry-picked, pepper spray guy and the violent offenders you're talking about. They weren't those. I'm not saying they are like, it's okay when we do it. Exactly. And I don't think it's okay when anybody pepper sprays or does any, as part of, anybody who was doing that on January 6th deserves to have charges pressed against them. I don't think it should take 4 freaking years to get a trial, but they should be held accountable for that. But the vast majority of those people didn't do stuff like that. They just went into the Capitol. But meanwhile, they dropped charges for all the violent offenders, all the Antifa and BLM rioters from January 20th, 2017, and from the Summer of Love, the BLM Summer of Riots that they called peaceful protests. They raised bail money for those terrorists. And so, once again, I question your motives because you seem to be very selective at what you condemn, Schiff. Yeah, I remember. Oh my gosh, John, remember this? All the experts. Remember when all the medical experts, like Bernie Sanders likes to hold up that list, right? Remember when during the COVID years, all the medical experts said you couldn't do any gatherings and there were lockdowns and there were some cities where they had curfews and you were not allowed to gather and they told you couldn't even have family over for Thanksgiving and it was too dangerous and you couldn't be in large crowds. And then the BLM riots were happening. And remember this, these same medical experts, all the headlines said, it was crazy. It was like something out of a movie. All the headlines were like, medical experts say that it's okay to gather in crowds if it's for a BLM protest. Why? Because BLM is theoretically against racism, and racism is also a public health crisis. That's what they said. I'm not shitting you. I'm not kidding. That's what they said. That's what they said. Leftists, you guys let them feed you this garbage. You just gobble it up. Like, oh, that makes sense, I guess. We'll go out. Can't have grandma over for Thanksgiving, but we can go out in the streets in a huge riot and protest if it's for BLM. Oh, my goodness. Pirate Tomsky, Keri, you're ignorant. Racial justice beats COVID. Yeah, right. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Bumbledore. Hey, Bumbledore, what's up? I think you're G-Man. I'm going to call you G-Man. And I think you're G-Man. For $5, I appreciate it. It says Kash sort of congratulated Schiff on his recent presidential pardon at the hearing. Oh, pencil neck must be very relieved. Was he one of the ones pre-pardoned? Pre-pardoned. Torgo the White, a member for 9 months. Thank you, Torgo. Says Trump should have declared January 20th Liberation Day. Yes. Randy Wallen for $2. Thank you, Randy. Thank you for the super chat. He says, remember, leave a comment or click like and subscribe. I'm going to save that and show that again at the end, Randy. And Sparta 300 says, hello. Everyone, please say a prayer for Gary for Neurotic's mother. I'll have to go and look up what's happening after this because I haven't heard the news, whatever the news is about Gary's mom, but I hope it's nothing too serious. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. We're going to continue.
It's what you did, Mr. Patel, that matters. It's what you did that matters. Well, let me ask you about something else that you did, Mr. Patel. Did you claim that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago? Did you claim that?
In what proceeding?
To the public, ever. Did you tell anyone that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago?
From publicly available information, President Trump issued a declassification order on a variety of materials.
No, I'm just asking you, did you tell the public? Did you tell anyone? Did you make the claim? that Donald Trump had declassified those hundreds of classified documents that were Mar-a-Lago. Did you make that claim
From my
publicly?
best of my recollection, I said President Trump issued a declassification order to a large number of documents.
Yeah, and were you present when he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents?
Senator, I'm not saying he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents. I said President
so now-
Trump declassified a large number of documents, and I would hope this committee and the rest of Congress would want to get those documents to the American people.
Mr. Patel, before a president or anyone declassified documents, wouldn't you want to know whether making the public would cause sources to be killed? Wouldn't you want to know that before you just declare they're all declassified? Wouldn't that be the responsible thing for a president to do?
It was the responsible thing for us to do. That's why we declassified the Nunes memo.
And did Donald Trump
And no one
declassify?
died.
And did Donald Trump ever ask any of the agencies who produced those documents whether declassifying them would put people's lives at risk? Did he ever do that to your knowledge, Kash Patel?
I don't know that he didn't. Do you?
No, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem, isn't it?
What?
So let me just ask, Mr. Chairman, if you would, Mr. Patel has said he has no problem. He would support the release of his grand jury testimony in that case. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, to join me in requesting, with Mr. Patel's approval, the release of those grand jury transcripts. And I would also ask Mr. Patel whether you support the release of volume 2 as it pertains to you of the special counsel's report. Any reference to you in the report, to your truthfulness, will you support the release to this committee of those sections of volume 2 of special counsel's report?
I support following the law and providing whatever information the law requires. I'd like to welcome my father, Pramod, and my mother, Anjana, who are sitting here today. They traveled here to get here from India. My sister's also here, Nisha. She also traversed the oceans just to be with me here today. It means the world that you guys are here. Jesse Krishna. I wouldn't be here today without their guidance, their unwavering support, and their relentless love.
Have you referred to the media as the most powerful enemy of the United States that they have ever seen? Is that right?
Is the media one of the most powerful enemies of the United States that we've ever seen? I didn't know he said that. Don't have a problem with it. It is an enemy of the people. It is one of the biggest enemies of the people that we've ever seen. So look at her smug face. Like, how dare you say that about the media? Because it's true. Like, if I were him, I don't know what he's about to say. I didn't see this clip. But if he's about to be like, yeah, I said it. Happy. He should just be like, yeah, they are.
Support and their relentless love.
Have you referred to the media as the most powerful enemy of the United States that they have ever seen? Is that right?
Again, you're reading a quote. I take that
Each
you're
to
reading it
CPAC
accurately.
22324. You said we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens who helped Joe Biden rig the elections. We're going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly. Is that something you said?
That's a partial statement of what I said.
Steve Bannon's podcast. You also said,
And it's great. And no problems with any of that. We're going to come after the media that lied, criminally or civilly. Like, if they broke the law, we're coming after. Great.
you would put the entire fake news mafia press corps on your list. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I don't have that in front of me.
Benny Johnson's podcast 82123. You have said that the FBI.
I just wanted to take this down for a second. I love the fact that all these stuffed suits, these powerful elite, and they swear at the altar of the cathedral media, big corporate media, which pushes all the propaganda that they like. They're all working in collusion, right? And I just love that during the confirmation hearing, Kash Patel is so based that he only goes on podcasts. And she's got to read it off, each podcast he was on. She's like, the War Room with Steve Bannon, each one, and then I mean, I wish he would go on some little chant, if he would go on, could you imagine if she's like, did you say this on Politically Incorrect Knitters on January? Yes. Just kind of the big middle finger to corporate media. It's not like these were said on, CNN or MSNBC or any of their cult woke propaganda press. These are all said on podcasts. You're like, did you say this on a pod? Yes, I did.
Including today, you said that they remain utterly corrupt. This is an agency with agents who have taken down terrorists, taken down bank robbers, taken down crime. And you wrote that the FBI has become so thoroughly compromised that it will remain a threat to the people unless drastic measures are taken. Do you know that under Chris Wray's leadership, he took over at a very difficult time, we all know that, appointed by President Trump, that during his tenure, the applications to the FBI has in fact tripled. Do you think people would be applying to that agency like in those numbers if they thought it was so corrupt?
The American public's trust in it is at 40%. That's an all-time low.
Did you?
Boom. Drop the mic moment. What is she trying to say there? It's the denial. It's basically a denial of reality and of facts. Nobody trusts the FBI anymore for good reason. And so she's like, do you think that people would be applying to work for it if they didn't trust it? And he's like, 40% trust rating, the lowest ever. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact, Amy. Do with it what you will. And there are still people applying to work at the FBI. Okay. Doesn't change the fact that only 40% of people say they trust the FBI, which frankly, what's wrong with you 40%? You holdouts, you like, you're the people that trust that men can become women, aren't you? Aren't you? You're the ones that trust that if you cut a hole out of your mask, you can play a trombone through the hole and not spread COVID. And the mask is doing its magic protection work. And you trust the FBI and you trust that magic hole mask for your trombone.
You say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Based.
Let's see, you get a second round.
Based.
Before I call on Senator
Could
Lee.
he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism should be shut down and opened as a deep state,
Mr. Chair.
as a museum? Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Yes, woman. Yes, he did, Margaret. Frankly, I don't care, Margaret. What is J.D. Vance's quote? I don't really care, Margaret, that he said that. I don't really care because it's true. Because it's a corrupt shell of what it used to be. And I don't know if it's ever been that great. I mean, remember, this is the same FBI that tried to get Martin Luther King Jr. to kill himself. Remember that? The FBI they were writing letters to MLK Jr. and they were pretending like they were a black fan of his. Look this up, leftists. Do you not know about this? They pretended that they were a black fan of his, and they were like, in the letter, it's ridiculous. Like it's like big fan, MLK, and as a black man, I can no longer support you because I heard about all of your philandering, which he was philandering, and basically you should end yourself. And this was their FBI's tax. This is what they spend our tax dollars on. I mean, they've always been shady, but I think they're even worse today. Look at what they do today. Biden had them classifying parents at PTA meetings as domestic terrorists. This is what the FBI is doing today. So, she's sitting here like this is some gotcha. Did you say that the FBI headquarters should be opened as a museum to the deep state? Yeah. I don't really care, Margaret, that he did say that because it's true.
Mr. Chair.
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Oh.
I am quoting.
Boom, based. Once again, look at all the people. You got your list, Bernie. I got my list. Look at all these people in law enforcement who want me to be head of the FBI. Boom, mic drop. I like you're right, Randy. Kash Patel does not disappoint. This is a good one. Okay, let's continue.
Putting his own words. 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
You've committed that the FBI will not be politicized. So here's your first test. Will you commit that you will not tolerate the firing of the FBI agents who worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations?
No, I won't. That's all you have to say. No, I won't. Because that's not politicizing. If you are okay with excising people who were politicizing the FBI, that's not politicizing. That's getting rid of people who politicize. And I'm cool with it. You know what? These people want to sit up here, these politicians, these senators, they want to pretend like the FBI is not already politicized. The FBI was taking our taxpayer dollars so they could arrange meetings on behalf of the Biden administration, arrange meetings with big social companies, with big corporations like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and sit down and do meetings. The FBI telling Twitter and telling Facebook which American citizens to ban and censor, which news stories to censor so that the American people wouldn't get the news, which doctors and scientists to censor because they weren't going along with the narrative and with the politicized decisions that the Biden administration was making, and with the lockdowns and with the mandates and with the story they were putting out, the false news, the false story they were putting out, the propaganda that the American media, which is the number one enemy of the people right now. Yes, he said that. Great. I think they are. It was already politicized. It's been politicized. So if this guy's like, I want you to swear. Pinkies, I want you to swear. You're not going to get this job if you don't swear that you're going to oppose firing all the people who made it politicized. No, I won't swear to that. You're not going to hold me to something like that. That's what he should say. What's that expression? I want you to. Well, you can want in one hand and poop in the other and see which one fills up first. Is that the expression?
Worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations.
Senator, I appreciate the time to visit with you.
It is a yes or no answer, and it is your first test.
Senator, every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments.
And I'm not going to accept that answer because
why?
Okay, if you
who
can't
cares?
commit that those FBI agents will be protected from political retribution.
Protected? Why should they be protected if they don't meet the standard, the impartial standard for FBI agents? They should go. So they should not be protected. I love this guy. The balls on this guy. I will not accept that. I don't care if you accept it. That's my answer. Who are you?
We can't accept you as FBI director.
All FBI employees will be protected against political retribution.
Those individuals deserve to be protected from Trump retribution. That was your first test. You failed it.
By saying all FBI employees should be protected?
That is a test of professional diligence because it is the measure of whether you will stand up and say no to the president if he gives you an unlawful or illegal order. Let me turn to the J6 choir. You know who the J6 prison choir is, don't you?
It's been referenced earlier, yes.
And you know about the song.
Oh my goodness, these guys in the freaking J6 choir, who cares? Frankly, Margaret, we don't give a damn. Frankly, Margaret, we don't care. We don't care.
That, in fact, you produced, you promoted, and you used to, as you put it, raise awareness and support for the political prisoners still locked in jail. Those J6 choir, were they political prisoners?
I don't know everyone in the J6 choir.
That's what you said.
That's
correct?
not how I read it, Senator.
This is your tweet. That's your whole statement.
Well, I'm
You
reading
won't
it
stand
now.
behind your own statements made in tweets, countless of them. As a matter of fact, as you put it to Steve Bannon on his show, then we went into a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it as a song, now releasing it exclusively in the War Room. That was the J6 prison choir song.
And all proceeds were given away to charity to help
And you
families in
called
need.
them political prisoners?
I call them the vast majority of them, yes, political prisoners, because you held them without trial. They'd been in prison for 4 years, and most of them did nothing. They weren't violent offenders. So yeah. By the way, let's look at these. I wish they had read the lyrics. I just looked up this song. I didn't even know this song. So the J6 prison choir they keep talking about, they put out this song called Justice for All. And here are the subversive lyrics. Can you believe that Kash Patel promoted a song with these lyrics? You guys, get ready. Here are the lyrics. Have you heard this song? Here's the lyrics. I mean, look at this. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Can you believe these lyrics? I mean, Kash Patel, you promoted a song with lyrics like, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. One nation under God. Lyrics like that, one nation under God. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, or the land of the free and the home of the brave, USA, USA. It says USA 6 times. Look at these subversive lyrics. So stupid. Oh, gosh.
Julian Cater? Do you know what he did?
I don't know who that is, Senator.
Well, he's one of the J6 prison choir.
You seem to know more
And
about it than I
identified
do.
in a court filing. And you're saying now you don't know who he is?
Okay, so this section, I've watched this part. He goes through and he just cherry picks like 2 or 3 names from among the J6 prisoners, two or three names who are, I don't know them. I don't know who they are either. They're probably bad apples. One of them pepper sprayed, allegedly pepper sprayed Capitol Police. So no, I don't support those individual people, but the vast majority of people who are being held, I think it's a good thing he was helping to raise money for their legal defense. Great. At least somebody was. At least he wasn't doing what Kamala Harris and a lot of the Democrats and the senators were doing, which is raising money for bail for violent offenders in BLM and Antifa. That's what they did. Bail money for people who were in a riot, starting fires, destroying businesses. We're going to take a break from Kash Patel. I've got to get to this Tulsi Gabbard clip, but first, somebody noticed that I did not share the Bernie clip with RFK where he's talking about the onesies. And this has been the subject of many a meme. And so in case you haven't seen it, if you missed it, this is we're going to watch this one. You're right. I should show this one. Okay. This is.
You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand it, on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unfaxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you come in before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a science product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines.
Keri, do you approve of these onesies, says Frying Pants? I not only approve of them, I'm wearing one. I'm kidding. I'm not wearing one. But of course, if you want to buy this, like, you know, what does it mean? It's up to the viewer. Does it mean just the COVID? If it means just the COVID vax, if that's what I mean if I were to put this on if I had a child, put on my child, then yeah, that's what I mean, the COVID one, because that was a bunch of BS. That propaganda pushing us to take that was a bunch of BS, and babies did not need to take that. And it doesn't matter because this video is already going to be taken out. I'll just say it. Does it mean like I mentioned, there are some people in the chat who are skeptical of all vaccines now, or maybe they were before, some of them. Do I have a grievance against them? No. Do I have a grievance against them for the decisions they make for their family? No. I haven't done enough research to have that grievance against them. As I mentioned, frankly, ever since I saw what they did during COVID and I saw the propaganda and the lies, and I saw them push this new shot on us that had not been around long enough for studies, for longitudinal studies, now I want to go back and look at everything. I don't ever want to put something in my body again without doing the due diligence and doing the research from now on. I used to just take things at face value. You know, they'd say, take this one, I'd take it. It doesn't mean I'm never going to take one again. I took all of the ones recommended until that COVID one. But now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think it's probably smart to look into each one. You are putting it in your body or the body of your child. What's so funny though is like this is almost like from a comedy sketch, because Bernie's got these big printouts behind him. like you're in a murder trial or something. And he's like, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, please look at Exhibit A behind me. You will see the offending onesie. This one says unvaxxed and unafraid. I will enter into evidence Exhibit B, Your Honor. This is a onesie, which is what it is, a clothing made for babies.
Of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can make that call.
He's not even on the board of this org anymore. And Bernie's like, it doesn't matter. You could still make a call. But it's not his organization anymore. What's wrong with you? Why would he? It's like you're trying to strong arm him into some it's a virtue signal, because it means nothing. Because it's like, hey, call up this company that you're not even on the board of anymore and tell them, Bernie Sanders told me I have to call you and tell you that there's an offending onesie in your merch shop. What? This is a total clown show. Randy, you were right. This is a clown show. This is just ridiculous grandstanding. Your Honor, Exhibit A, offending onesie, number 1.
Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh my goodness, so funny. Look at these onesies. Dion says, I love Megyn Kelly laughing in the background. Was she in the background laughing? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so ridiculous. Militant clothing on a baby. It's a Seinfeld episode, says cleanup. Yes, it is. It's so ridiculous. Look at these onesies. Look at them. Randy Wallen. Remember, leave a comment, click like, and subscribe. Thank you, sir. JB05 for $5. Thank you, JB, for the super chat. Says, meanwhile, Senator Blumenthal lied about being in Vietnam. Such a slime ball. I didn't even know that. There's so many of them that have lied. I can't even keep track of all the skeletons in each of their closets. All these different politicians. So earlier, I just wanted to highlight this because I don't know enough about this yet. And like I said, all I know is the autism rates are skyrocketing among children. And RFK is like, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's find out why. None Your Business said, well, much of the increase in autism is not new cases of autism, it's new diagnoses. I didn't go to school with a single autistic child, but plenty of what we then called dumbasses. Okay, that's one perspective. It could be that. It could be that. But I actually do think there's an increase. I need to do more reading, but it seems to me there's an increase among, well, dumbasses, yes, but also people who have trouble reading social cues and become like very hyper focused on certain like all the different characteristics of things that get lumped in and called autism. So I don't know. Some of that is probably, some of the attention deficit stuff is probably related to raising a whole generation of kids on devices, which is, we have yet to see how that's going to play out. That's new. Okay. I've got this funny clip that Pirate, I'm going to save it for the end, Pirate, the clip that you sent me. Let's play a few of the Tulsi Gabbard clips. Now, Tulsi, I know some of you have, everybody has gripes, different gripes about, Tulsi or RFK or Kash Patel, and that's great. You're never going to agree with somebody on everything. Of course not. It just, it's more about determining if they are consistent in their principles or not, even if you disagree with what some of their opinions are. Are they consistent, or are they, there's this line you have to become discerning where you can say, is this just me disagreeing with them, or are they consistently saying really crazy things suddenly? Because there are a lot of people with lots of influence who are lately saying a lot of crazy stuff online. There's a lot of people saying a lot of crazy stuff now about like how Hitler wasn't that bad and we should look into fascism, and that stuff's insane. And I'm sorry, it's not just a matter of opinion, a difference of opinion. It's like some of you, the mask has been pulled off, and I've seen that you were just absolute grifting shills, or have no allegiance to truth or to honor or to no principles whatsoever. So that's really different than disagreeing on policy opinions and things here and there, right? So I know some of you have disagreements with Tulsi, and that's okay. I will say I really like Tulsi. As I mentioned, I voted for her in the primaries in 2020, and I got to meet her at one of these. I think it was a Minds.com event. One of these panels like Myth Informed and Minds that put on these conferences like the Better Discourse Conference and things where people go and have panels and discussions and try and talk to each other across the aisle. And those are always a lot of fun. And I was really excited that I got to meet this lady. Okay, let's hear what she has to say. I think for some reason, like, their guns are really aimed at her. Like you said at the beginning, Randy, like they really don't want her in there.
Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States. Accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump.
I'm going to pause this for a second. So when she came on the scene in the Democratic Party, I don't know if you guys remember this, maybe you weren't on the left like I was, and so you weren't seeing as much of this, but if you were on the left like I was, they the Democratic establishment, the Democrat Party loved her. They pushed her like they did Obama. They were like, this is one of the rising new stars in the party. Like they were all in. They're like, woman of color, military veteran, she's going to be, they were saying the same kind of stuff about her that they said about Obama, rising star, might be president one day, like all in, right? And I think what happened is, what she's talking about here is, the reason they call her puppet is projection, because she won't be a puppet. They're calling her the very thing she's not. She would not let them control her. She would not fall in line. She bumped heads with the party establishment constantly, to the point that she finally left the party. Like, they hate this woman. She's an apostate. Like, they hate her. They could not control her.
And failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
Yes.
Democrat senators in the past resorted to anti-Christian bigotry against some of President Trump's judicial nominees like Amy Coney Barrett and Brian Boucher. I condemn those actions as a Democrat in Congress at the time, as religious bigotry must be thoroughly condemned by all of us, no matter the religion. Unfortunately, there are some Democrat senators who still don't understand the principle of freedom of religion and Article 6 of the Constitution. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Unfortunately, they're once again using the religious bigotry card, but this time trying to foment religious bigotry against Hindus and Hinduism. If anyone is sincerely interested in knowing more about my own personal spiritual path of Hinduism, I welcome you to go to my account on X, where I'll share more on this topic. Now, Mr. Vice Chairman, Edward Snowden broke the law. I do not agree with or support with all of the information and intelligence that he released, nor the way in which he did it. There would have been opportunities for him to come to you on this committee or seek out the IG to release that information. The fact is, he also, even as he broke the law, released information that exposed egregious, illegal, and unconstitutional programs that are happening within our government.
Excuse me,
that led to serious reforms that Congress undertook.
Chairman, we got 5 minutes. So I take your answer, and these are your quotes. Brave, please join my bipartisan legislation calling for charges to be dropped against him. Do you disagree that legislation was not appropriate? Do you believe he is brave or not?
Yeah,
back those words.
Once again,
it's possible to both believe he was brave for being a whistleblower and exposing all this stuff, and also to believe that he should have chosen more appropriate methods to release the information. It's possible to believe both things, moron. Like what is, it's not an either or.
Again, Senator, Edward Snowden broke the law. He also released information
we agree that Edward Snowden
that exposed the United States government's illegal
your
programs.
Legislation and your words are still your beliefs. Yes or no, please.
I'm making myself very clear. Edward Snowden broke the law. He released information about the United States government's illegal activities.
Ma'am,
if I may just finish my thoughts, Senator. In this role that I've been nominated for, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will be responsible for protecting our nation's secrets. And I have 4 immediate steps that I would take to prevent another Snowden-like leak.
Was Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, I will also repeat my answer. He broke the law.
You said earlier that you were offended by a question that my colleague from Kansas asked, which I think was his duty as somebody on this committee to fulfill his responsibility to advise and consent. We are not here to be a rubber stamp for the President of the United States. So let me ask you again, do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members of our intelligence agencies believe, that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, if confirmed
This
as
is when the
Director of
rubber hits
National
the road.
Intelligence,
This is
I
what
will
this is
work
not.
with you to make sure
This
that
Yeah, I mean, I know what my answer is. She's got to be more diplomatic, but he revealed that the depths to which our government was spying on us. So, is he a traitor to us? Is he a traitor to the government? Is he a traitor to the people? What does the question mean exactly? Did he break the law in the way he did it? Yes, he did. Is what he revealed also egregious? Yes.
It is
there is
not
not
a
another
moment for
Snowden-like
social
leak.
media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States. Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
as someone who has
I'll go on
worn
to my
our uniform
questions.
in
This
combat, I understand how critical our national security
Apparently
is.
you don't. Apparently you don't. Let me ask you, I've worked very hard to put your own words here in front of the committee. Not, fake news, not conspiracy theories on the internet, but the actual things that you have said. On February 23rd, 2022, at the very moment that Russian tanks were rolling across the peaceful border of Ukraine for the first time, you tweeted at 11:30 p.m. your time, this war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden administration / NATO had simply acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine's becoming a member of NATO. Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet, Senator.
Yes is the answer. A few months later, you said on your podcast, and I quoted it, quote, "But this regime change war against Russia that the U.S. and NATO are waging via their proxy in Ukraine didn't begin when Putin invaded Ukraine. They had their eyes set on this objective long before that." Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet.
Thank
There's
you.
a
The
lot
answer
more.
is yes.
You're quoting a podcast that
I'm
provided
happy
much
to have
more
a conversation
context.
with the chairman about whether I'm taking anything out of context. I don't think I am. And your answer is yes. Are you aware that your comments about proxy wars and Russia's legitimate security concerns, to quote your own words, are in alignment with what the Russians have said to justify their invasion of Ukraine? Yes or
Senator,
no?
I don't pay attention to Russian
So I'll
propaganda.
take
My
that as
goal is to
I'll
speak
take
the
that as
truth,
the answer is no.
regardless of whether
Thank
you like it or not.
I'll take.
You're not gonna condemn her. Do you guys recognize what this tactic is? Which is, so you said this thing, and also this bad guy said this thing, so therefore that thing you said is not true, and also you're a bad guy now. That's not the way things work. That's an attempt to smear. It's not even, I would say, it's not even guilt by association because she's not associated with the Russian government. But it's like, oh, but they one time said this thing too, or they said that this they pointed to this point in history that you're pointing to. Yeah, John, it's similar to guilt by association. I'm sure there's a more appropriate phrase for it, but it's sort of like that joke about where people are like, you drink water, Hitler drank water, Like, I don't know if I need to connect these dots or not. Like, okay. Triangulation, says Little Ragamuffin. Is that what it's called? You probably would know. Yeah, Dion. You know who else drink water?
Are used to speaking truth to power.
Yes.
I'm shocked to hear you now say that, you are agreeing. I'm not shocked because I know you said it. You are agreeing that you basically said that Putin was justified in rolling over the peaceful border of Ukraine, the first time since World War II that a free nation had been invaded by a totalitarian state. And you were there at 11:30 p.m. that night to say that you were with them, not us. And let me tell you something. You say you don't know because you don't read Russian propaganda. Russian state TV then aired your comments. Did you know that?
Senator, I think you should also quote the statement that I made criticizing Putin for his invasion
What
of
I would
Ukraine.
say,
For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence.
No, but see, he wouldn't do that. He's not going to say, and also you made statements criticizing Putin for his invasion of Ukraine. Let's read some of those. Why would he do that? Because he's trying to smear you. He's trying to present a dishonest, one-sided narrative that like this is, oh, you're a tool of Putin. Oh, you agree with Russia on this one. Well, why don't you include all the statements where I criticize Putin for invading Ukraine? Moving on. Those will not be entered into the record, right? I hate these guys so much. Brahma has a little correction to the record here. He says, actually, Russia invaded under Obama too. This was not the first time since World War II. I didn't even know that. Thank you. I don't, I have so much contempt for not just the media, but for these politicians. Like,
and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence. This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers, millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of Al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran.
You also mentioned Russia, but the only thing you said about Russia in fully explaining why it's a priority is ending the war with Russia. When you talk about Russia, what are your fears or policy priorities beyond ending the war? How do you see Russia as a threat to the United States?
Senator, if confirmed as the Director of National Intelligence, it will be paramount for me to assess where our intelligence gaps may exist so that I can provide the President and all of you with the most accurate full picture of that threat assessment to directly answer your questions. I think that it is a complex environment.
can we just, for a second, let me look at this. So you have to search really hard to find her tweets that they're criticizing, because you know how they do this, right? You know how when they want to smear someone, they just say, she is sympathetic to Russia. And even the AP was doing this. So I had to click through 3 AP articles to find this, because the first AP article doesn't ever give you the direct quote. They never tell you what she actually said. They never tell you. They just tell you what to think about her. They summarize it for you. They give you a perspective. They give you your opinion. They give a one-sided, biased narrative. So in the first 2 articles I looked through, they didn't even have her quotes. They just said, she's sympathetic to Russia. Okay, so you have to really search. So I had to click through I got to this 3rd AP article. So here's one of the quotes that they have an issue with. Now, if you look up first at the beginning, even in this one, they still say, they still say she has a disturbing willingness to parrot Russia propaganda. Really? Past comments supportive of Russia. What are those comments? Are you ever going to tell us? Okay, here's one of them. Quote, "This war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden admin and NATO had simply acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns," she posted on Twitter at the start of Russia's invasion in 2022. This is in the context of her criticizing Putin for invading, but also saying this war and suffering could have been avoided if Biden had done something differently. Is that sympathetic to Russia, or is that criticism of a leader who doesn't know how to lead? Of a phony president who's asleep in the back room and doesn't know how to lead, and who knows who's even running the country when Biden was in office? I don't see anything wrong with what she said. What am I missing? She seems clear-headed to me, this quote. She's not wrong. Where's that? I mean, they're crazy. Do you really want her to have all the secrets of the United States and our defense intelligence agencies when she has so clearly been in Putin's pocket? Well, it's not clear to me that she's in Putin's pocket. You know who said this? Elizabeth Warren. You know what? I trust her a hell of a lot more with United States secrets and our defense intelligence agencies than I do you, Miss Warren. Than I do anyone in the Biden admin.
Russia remains a strategic competitor. There are a number of concerns that have to do with their nuclear weapons, as well as how the decisions and policies that are being made by this body and by the president will impact our own national security, which is my foremost concern.
I want to make certain that in no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart.
Oh my gosh. Are you peering into her heart now, Senator? And her mind? Mr. Moron? Who is this senator, Mr. Moron? Are you peering into her heart and mind? Is this thought crimes? Are these heart crimes? Is that what you're convicting her of, her heart and thought crimes? Are you putting stuff in her heart and mind that is not there, but you're saying it's there? You're the judge of it. She just told you. She's repeatedly criticized Putin. And yet you guys are like, she's repeatedly criticized Russia. And yet you guys want to paint her as some Russia puppet who loves Russia. I just want to make sure you don't love Russia. When did you stop beating your wife? This is that asked and answered. This is that loaded question thing, that loaded question fallacy. Will you stop loving Russia more than I don't love Russia more than the US. Like, why would you ask that? It's just like how they lied about RFK Jr. and they repeatedly call him anti-vax, although he's not. Mr. Moron here is like, I want to make sure you're not committing thought or heart crimes. That's really what's happening.
By the president will impact our own national security, which is my foremost concern.
I want to make certain that in no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart.
Oh, let's hook her up to a heart and mind machine. Well, I guess we don't need to, since you can peer into it for us. You can tell us, even though she says clearly she's not standing for Russia, but you say, oh, in your heart and your mind you are. Oh, mind reader, heart reader, Mr. Moron here.
Or in any policy recommendation you would make or not make.
Senator, I'm offended by the question because my sole focus, commitment, and responsibility is about our own nation, our own security, and the interests of the American people. In carrying out the responsibilities of the Director of National Intelligence, if confirmed, no country, group, or individual will get a pass in my fulfilling that responsibility of providing that full intelligence picture so that you all can make the best informed policy decisions for the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. You have my commitment to be completely objective, unbiased, and apolitical. And I hope you understand my commitment to our country's interest.
I absolutely do. You have answered my question in the manner in which I wanted to hear, that you will do this in an objective manner, provide the information necessary, and that Russia, if it's a threat, you will tell us so and tell us the details of that threat.
Yes, Senator.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. What a joke. What a joke. Texas Sheep Lady says that, by the way, Kennedy's speech issues, which I was mentioning earlier, were caused by a reaction to a flu shot. Ironically, were they? I didn't know that. Rosa, how do these people get elected? Well, a lot of money. Big pharma. Some of them. A lot of money. And also, I think, Rosa, I used to be, I know I'm a bit of a Pollyanna about things, but I used to think that people would rise in politics or in any field if they, like, good people would rise because obviously the more good that you do, you have a good reputation with people and you're going to have people want to help you if you're running a campaign or whatever. And so I really did think that being a good person helped you. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's the opposite. I'm laughing because of how naive I was. It's the opposite. So think about it. This blew my mind when I learned this. And I guess a lot of people have always known this. In politics, in lots of fields, but politics especially, it helps you to be a bad, corrupt person because the more blackmail that other more powerful people have on you, the better, because they know they can control you. So they're going to help you and get behind your campaign, and they're going to prop you up because they're bad, you're bad, they have dirt on you, you know they have dirt on you, like they can control you, that you'll be their puppet, you know. The more morally flexible you are, the higher you're going to rise. That's part of the reason I think they hate her so much. Because like she said, that she would not be their puppet. She disagrees with the Democratic Party establishment on a lot of things. She has nuanced opinions and she says what she thinks is true, and they hate her. So they try and call her the very thing she won't be, a puppet. But yeah, I think that's how they get elected. A lot of these people. It's like, whenever I really was always shocked, like, how did this person get ahead? They're so vile. And it's like, oh, okay, now that's why they got ahead. That's why they got ahead. There's some like Epstein out there that has a tape on them somewhere, and they know that they can always be controlled because it makes sense, right? Dirty, dirty people controlling other dirty people. I'm going to give you a little a fictional example. My husband and I are watching Game of Thrones. He had never seen it before. I know it's pretty filthy in terms of its overt sex scenes and stuff. I know. And I know many people who won't watch it for that reason. And I understand that. That issue aside, I think it's a really well-written drama. And it does have a lot of fantasy elements, which some people don't like the fantasy parts. But in terms of a drama, I think it's very well written. And we're at this part where, did any of you watch Game of Thrones? Do you remember? There's this part where towards the end, one of the characters, Jon Snow, there are some people who are it's like politics, basically, this show. And some of the characters are saying, no, you should be leader, right? You should be the king. Out, because the whole series is people vying to be king. Game of Thrones, right? So it's all these people vying to be king or queen. And so Jon Snow's like, I don't want to be king. I don't want to. And one of the characters, I think it's Varys, is like, maybe the best king is somebody who doesn't want to be king. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that in history. I think whoever wrote that line is a good student of human nature, because often I find that the best leaders are people who don't want to be leaders and they're not seeking it out. And it's like, how do you get more of those people to choose to go into politics? I don't know. I'm not sure, because most of the time the people that go into it seem to be, it's a lot of people with a high degree of sociopathy. Let's just be real, and narcissism and psychopathy. It's like a lot of dirty people, and the good guys are like, why would I want to do that? I just want to raise a family, do right by God, and like raise a healthy family. And can't blame them. I can't blame them. I do agree with you, actually, cycling for fun. I don't know. It's a little of both. He says Trump is a reluctant president, always has been. I think I see both. I do think he has some narcissistic tendencies, not like malevolent ones, not he's not like a sadist or anything, Machiavellian, nothing like that. But he does have some narcissistic tendencies. On the other hand, I have started to see some of this reluctant nature you're talking about, which I know some people, I can just hear leftists going, "What are you talking about? Reluctant nature." But I see what you're talking about. There's some of that there. I mean, when he got shot, I think most people would have pulled out of the race at that point. I mean, his life is in danger all the time because of the corrupt media and politicians and corporations and the whole apparatus, the whole cathedral aimed against him and trying to get crazy people to take him out. And when he got shot and he stood up and fist bumped, I was like, I'm getting a MAGA hat. That's when I decided I'm going to get a MAGA hat. Because at that point, I was like, I don't care what people think of me and what they say, or, I had always kind of thought the MAGA hats were cheesy and whatever. I was like, at that point, I was like, this guy took a bullet and he stood up. And what was his immediate reaction to do? Standing up bloody to inspire the people to keep fighting. Just got shot. That's a leader. Can you imagine any of these weasels we just watched, like Adam Schiff? If Adam Schiff was facing what Trump faces every day, can you imagine him standing up and fist bumping the audience after that, after getting shot? No. So I see what you mean about reluctant leader. Pirate Tomsky says, when Trump said, fight, 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 I got emotional. Yeah, I cried. And Pirate Tomsky also has a great quote here. Great men do not seek power. They have power thrust upon them. Lieutenant Commander Worf. Okay, there's so much more we could watch. There's hours and hours of this testimony. I might do a surprise stream sometime this week, an extra stream with some of this, because there's so much going on. But we're going to wrap it up now with a funny clip. Now, Pirate Tomsky sent this to me, and we'll see. We'll see if I think it's fun. I have a weird sense of humor, Pirate. Sometimes people send me clips and I haven't watched them yet, and then I play it and I don't laugh. So I don't know. We'll see. You said this is from who? Tyler Fisher, is that his name? Yeah, Pirate got me to quote Star Trek. Okay, we're gonna watch it. Here we go.
Sir, do you think that men cannot have babies?
I can see why they call you Pocahontas, because you're really poking me. Mr. Kennedy, do you support what is on these onesies? Look at these onesies. Available for $26.99, which is actually a pretty good deal. I can't say that I do, though. I think you would look pretty good in that, Bernie, because you're a little baby.
My great-grandfather had a saying about people like you. He used to say,
Hey,
Mr. Kennedy, I heard you say that vaccines can cause autism.
The science is not clear on that, but I can confirm whatever vaccines you took have caused full-blown mental retardation.
That is racist.
Why don't you go back in your wigwam and beat the crap out of your husband? You know what? Forget a dream catcher. We need a bullshit catcher to filter out all the crap she's throwing at me right now. Mr. Kennedy, do you support what is written on this thong? Available at thonglife.com for $20.99. Actually, a pretty good deal. I'm wearing two of them, actually.
That is triggering.
You look like the type of guy who goes down on his wife while wearing a COVID mask.
That is not true. I grab her tonight. Look how I grab her boobs. 2 hands, nice and gentle. Of course, I sanitize them.
Booster Canada. I've gotten all 47 booster shots. Sure, ow, my neck is paralyzed, but that's unrelated. Excuse me. I also poop my pants a few times a day. I don't think that's related to you. I'm anti-mask, but I really would love to put a mask on right now.
Are you willing to say right here under oath that
Whoever did the voices for this, is it the same? Is the comedian does the voices for all of these? Because the Kennedy one's really good. This is pretty funny. Thank you, Pirate. I'm laughing, except for the poop. I never laugh at poop humor. Like, can we just get rid of it? I don't find it. It's so gross. Look, I know there's something for everybody. It never makes me laugh.
Lizzo is not a skinny, beautiful woman?
Lizzo is definitely full of beauty. We'll leave it at that. Mr. Kennedy, do you support what is written in tattoos on Puff Daddy's arm? I believe he goes by P. Diddy. Sorry, P. Diddy.
And what about this woman who was not allowed into a lift because of her weight?
I think we should have a new rideshare app for morbidly obese people, and we can call it Forklift.
That is transphobic and racist.
You're out of order. Out of order.
Oh, I'm very triggered.
Hey, that's very mean.
Do you believe that vaccines cause autism?
Somebody give me a diaper.
No, this needs to stop.
Let's go.
Okay, so that was comedian Tyler Fisher. I gotta check him out. That was pretty funny. I wonder if he did all those voices. Thank you, Pirate. Thank you for sending that. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here today. I've got another person to thank, EHEF, for $10 for the super chat. Thank you for supporting Deprogrammed. I really appreciate it. EHEF says America's in its FAFO era. It is glorious. Yes. It's F around and find out era. That's what's happening. That's what's up. I'm here for it. No buyer's remorse at all with the Trump presidency. He just keeps on winning. Erica says, I love her channel. Thank you, Erica. I love that little doggy in your profile picture. Thank you for being here. Pirate Tomsky says, subscribe. Oh, yes. If you're not subscribed, if you're just watching, if you just tuned in, I'm almost at 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's been a heck of a trek here. And thank you to I appreciate everyone. This is a new channel. I had to rebuild. When was that? A year, 2 years ago. I had to start over. And I'm just so grateful for where I'm at right now. And I'm grateful for you guys. And I was talking about this with my husband the other night, like all the bad stuff. Do you ever have this happen where you go through a lot of really awful stuff, traumatic crap, betrayal, like just dirty stuff, and it's so painful at the time, but then later you're like, yeah, I wish it had happened differently and not so painfully, but at the same time I'm glad it happened. Like, I'm so glad it happened. I'm so happy for where I am and grateful for you guys for being here. And if you're not subscribed already, hit subscribe. We're going to try and hit 20K, and I would appreciate it. So let's see. And then Randy also from earlier, remember, leave a comment, click a like, and subscribe. That's Randy Wallen. You guys, and I just wanted to say, Judson says, I like Keri's new hippie chick look. I tried it myself. I just kind of look goofy and gay. Well, I don't believe that. Anybody can wear, and you can pull off anything. I say this all the time to people who are like, oh, they'll compliment, oh, I like your hat, or I like your boots, or I like this, or whatever. And then they say, I wish I could do. You can wear whatever you want. That stuff in your head, it's like middle school stuff telling you, oh, I can't wear certain, I can't wear hats or whatever. Yeah, you can. If you start wearing hats, you'll get more comfortable in them. And then you won't even remember having ever thought that you couldn't wear them. I believe that. And I love hats on men and women. I brought that comment up though, that compliment, and thank you, Judson, because this look is because of Ann Pinkova from Politically Incorrect Knitters. Go and check out her channel. Ann Pinkova hand knit these gloves and this cowl and hat, and I got to meet her in person finally at this Deprogrammed meetup on Saturday. It was so much fun. Go check out Politically Incorrect Knitters. I will see you guys on Wednesday. We'll be back for a Christian panel on Wednesday at 6:00 Central. I might pop in sooner than that. We'll see. But I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you had a great weekend, and I'll see you later. Okay, take care.